one of the things that I think about is that unconditional love. The idea that you can pursue things without any recourse, but like in a sense of not necessarily just, doing whatever you want to do and sort of kind of just going in all directions, but, having that love that sort of guides you and helps you to go in a certain direction, right? That, I mean, really healthy, good love that is there to, yeah, you know what, to sort of push you in a different direction when things are not going that well. And I think about, like, okay, that is the ideal situation. And that's how we know that we're going to, um, prosper in this world. If everybody had that sort of situation where you were being coached, you had good feedback, you felt good about yourself. Somebody was there to to say the right things. Think about that sort of ideal situation, which would allow us all to prosper and do extraordinarily well. And I think about, okay, what are the conditions? What are the environments that doesn't happen? And not only how can we change this, um, but then why are there sort of um, you know systematic problems, or what is the sort of inherent systematic nature behind those things that prevent that from happening? And I think that is a bigger question than sort of thinking about, can we change these things, or how can we make this for the better? We know that, I mean, it's pretty well understood. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say it's like completely well understood, but it's fairly well understood that, being supportive and helpful and, just, kindness, all these kind of things are all really good. Um, but then what are the circumstances? Because it is good, it helps you. And like there's, you know, that's how I know, that's how I raise my kids. Um, but then why do these sort of structural problems or systematic problems happen that prevent that from occurring across the board? What is going on there, right? I think one of the things, so I think about this as a parent, and with my kids, is that there is a divide, I guess, a lack of connection in terms of what is going on and why that occurs, right? So, that lack of connection can come from a lot of different things, right? So if you're trying to help somebody and it's, not necessarily working out, um, to the person that's being trying to be helped, and you're getting frustrated and all those kind of things. Why is there that sort of lack of communication? If in an ideal state, um, that you felt good, it was very positive, all these kind of things, that would mean that both, the person that's helping and the person that's receiving that information is, that they're pretty well connected. They get each other. And why is that occurring? Right? What is going on? What is the problem there? And why is there that lack of communication or lack of connection? Um, Frankly, to some degree, want to sort of throw up my hands and say, I don't know. But, I think it's the effort of trying to connect is what we have to sort of think about. And that requires on both sides, right? Where there's an effort to try to connect to understand what's going on. I think that that's a really, really important part of it. And sort of breaking down some of these things. And that's where, you know, mental, like, I guess therapy, right? Like is actually really good. Isn't, I guess, not mental therapy, but just therapy, right? Is really good to sort of help you create a connection and sort of see where everybody is not connecting and working through some of the frustrations that you feel. Sometimes, too, I think um, some processes are just inherently frustrating or inherently not helpful. Um, and just this idea that you're not working beside, right? So a hierarchy structure, versus the so a hierarchy structure is that you're like there's levels in an organization or levels of some degree. That in of itself, and the reason that that happens is because there's a great deal that has to be done on lower levels, and so you sort of do division of labor, and the lower levels do different tasks than the higher levels. um, and there's probably more lower levels, right? There's more people of the lower levels, more agents in the lower levels. And I think about that, and I think, in those cases, which is a lot of life, that there is a sort of inherent hierarchy that happens. Um, that's a really challenging thing to deal with, right? Because part of the hierarchy then is selecting individuals to be part of the lower level hierarchy, to be part of that, and then divvying out, and this is where the sort of higher level individuals have to sort of divvy out or be thinking about the different agents on the lower levels. And all of that is very inherently difficult to do without having or not creating that sort of unconditional love environment. And to me, um, right, so parenting is a perfect example of this particular thing, right? So you have, let's say you're parenting 30 kids. Well, that's a lot different story than parenting one kid in how you handle each situation, because you have to customize to the context. If you just did a blanket, I'm going to treat everybody exactly the same, which I know people like to say that, but it's hard to actually really do, because everybody is different, right? Uniformly, we're all, or we're not uniform, right? Like across the board, we're all pretty unique. We need different unique needs and things like that. And so you have to target, to do it effectively, to target each individual person differently. And then in that case, it's inevitable that you're balancing multiple groups, which is just really difficult to do, right? Like from a math perspective, there's many different combinations that can result from that. That's inherently complicated. And when you have those things and you think about that, there's often situations that you put into that you don't know what the right answer is. You don't know what that you should do, or that there's inherent complexity. So the idea of um, unconditional love, or just being there in all circumstances, it's really difficult to manage, really difficult to be part of. And I think, first of all, making that a stated, mission, or that's what you're striving for, does help, right? But because a lot of people don't strive for that, they have sort of different takes on the world, on how you should manage this, and a lot of people think that it should be sort of cutthroat, right? Like super competitive, those kind of things. But you know, ultimately, um, what you need to do is so when you even if you have that as a stated purpose, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to pursue. That unconditional love is really difficult, and you're going to come into many different circumstances where it's just not going to work out, right? And how do you manage those circumstances? I don't know, right? Like that's the challenge. Is I wish I knew what the answers were, and this is where I struggle with this. Is there is it's a one thing to go through it and um, talk about this process, but it's another thing to go through it and to deal with it. So I'm specifically thinking about, how do I create a classroom? right now. This is what I'm thinking about. How do I create a classroom and there's like unconditional love? And I don't know, right? Like I think it's maybe maybe that's a tall order to even consider that or to even think that. And I'm at a moment where I don't know if that's the case, right? I thought if you do, this is the sort of silly thing that I thought. I thought if you try to do everything right, then, ultimately you're going to get, the right answer, right? As one side tries to do everything right, try to do everything sort of right as a professor, as it should, or try to be fair, all those kind of things, try to be inspirational, try to connect, all those kind of things. And ultimately, it often doesn't work out. Um, and, the truth is it's, it's a challenge, right? To sort of figure out what is the right combination. How do you do this? How do you create an environment where, um, where I call it unconditional love, but I guess it's where people have psychological safety, or where you feel support and all those kind of things. And I don't know what the right answer is, right, with it. And that's the ultimate rub. That's the ultimate challenge, is figuring this out and um, walking through what it means to do something like that and to allow people to speak up. Um, I don't know at this point. I'm sort of frustrated, I guess, in the sense I'm probably at the middle of my career, beginning of the middle of my career, and thinking about the sort of frustrations. How do you actually deal with this? And I don't know. And maybe that's where just experience comes from, is grappling with the I don't know aspect of dealing with these sort of complexities in life where you're trying to create unconditional love, which is my stated purpose, I think, is to, create psychological safety, be there as a supportive individual. Um, but, but that's challenging to do. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.